Get comfortable. You're in the Marketing Stylist chair, and it's time for some Shop Talk. Shop Talk podcast is where entrepreneurs and small business owners gather to learn how to market themselves and their businesses, and we do it all from the Marketing Stylist chair. And now, your host and resident stylist, Lisa Alexander.
Hi, welcome back everybody. This is episode number 15 of Shop Talk with me, the marketing stylist, Lisa Alexander. Today I talked to Errol Allen of Errol Allen Consulting, and we're talking about customer service and how it impacts your bottom line. I think everybody has had a customer service experience that was less than satisfactory. We remember those, we tweet those, we talk about those. It can be years later and we still won't do business with, this particular company, or we won't go eat at that restaurant because of a bad experience. And so now as business owners, we need to know how to create customer services experiences that will keep people coming into our doors, that we can create positive feedback and positive word of mouth experiences. So today I'm going to talk to Errol. He's going to tell us what we need to do, and we're going to talk about this whole customer service thing, especially in the light of social media, on today's show. Enjoy, everybody. Errol, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. I'm glad to be here with you today.
So we're talking about customer service and how customer service can certainly impact the bottom line of any company, regardless of the kind of company you have, or the business, home-based business, with MLM, anything. Customer service impacts your bottom line.
Yes, ma'am, it most certainly does. You can have the best product, the best service, all of that. Without customer service, you're dead in the water as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. That's very true. That's very true, especially when you start talking about social media, but we'll get there. The first thing I really wanted to ask you, when is the best time for a company if you're just getting started? And it's like, when do you start really implementing? It's like, when do you start structuring your customer service strategy? When's the best time and who has it best?
I guess, Lisa, in my mind, the startup company has an advantage because they can build a culture that indoctrinates a great customer service strategy. Mm-hmm. So I think you can incorporate that into your operational plan as a startup. Now, for businesses that are already in operation, have been in existence for a while, you can still create a good customer service strategy, but sometimes it means perhaps overcoming some things that are already in place.
Very true. Very true. I know that in your book you talk about how treatment of employees is so important or critical to customer service. And I know that what I took away from your book is that devalued employees can't offer value to your customers.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a firm believer in that. From having spent over 25 years in actually servicing customers in one form or fashion myself, as well as being in management, I know it's important that you wow your employees. We're always asking employees to wow the customer. Well, it just makes sense to me to wow the employee, make them want to get up in the morning and come to work and provide a good customer experience to your customers. It's just important that you keep morale as high as possible in your organization in order for them to really feel good about servicing the customer.
Okay, so let's say, let's go back a little bit, and perhaps somebody's listening, they own a business, they've already started, and let's say that they didn't establish the culture that they really wanted for their customer service when they got started. So now things are kind of, let's say, iffy, and there have been some issues, and maybe they don't have the right people in place. Sometimes we hire the wrong people. We just need bodies and chairs, or so we think, and we can hire the wrong people. So how can a company then begin to, I guess, rebuild their customer service department? Like they've got it already up and running. How do you fix it? How would you suggest that a company fix their customer service issues?
I would suggest, Lisa, that the leadership within the company or organization start asking themselves questions. Why are we here? What is it that we provide? What do we want our customers to experience? And then you get to, how do we provide that experience? What's needed to provide that experience? How should we treat our employees? You start asking yourself questions, and as you answer those questions, then the picture really starts to come into view, because when you ask yourself, why are we here? Then you have to look at what it is you provide. We're here to provide whatever that service is. We're here to provide whatever that product is. Okay, and what are we expecting our customers to experience when they utilize our service or product?
Now that goes back to something else that you wrote in your book. You said that when your business is just getting started, or you're developing your customer service strategy, that it's important that you establish your core values. So talk about that a little bit and how that comes into play. And some companies, some businesses, when they're just getting started, we will copy and paste. If we see something online that we like, we will copy and paste it and adopt it as our own. And maybe share with us why that's maybe not such a good idea for your business.
Well, once again, you have to define why you're in business. Why are we here? Why do we exist? Core values, in my mind, relate to how do you want to relate to each other within your organization? How do you want to relate to your customers? Looking internally, we'll treat each other with respect. To me, respect is a big deal within an organization. Everybody should be held accountable to how they treat one another. Then you get into how you want to treat the customer. How do you want them to feel when they deal with your company? And then everybody is held accountable for making sure the customer is treated in that manner. There's a company I think about. They're out of Waco. It's called the Dwyer Group. It's run by, actually, it's female. Her name is Dina Dwyer, and they meet every morning to go over their core values. Why they're in existence, and it's firmly ingrained in everybody's mind within that organization what those core values are. There are even employees that work out in the field that provide home services. They're held accountable for what's expected of them when they enter a customer's home. You don't enter a customer's home with a dirty uniform. You don't enter a customer's home with just your work shoes on. You put the little booties on before you go into somebody's house. And so that's firmly ingrained. How will we treat each other within the organization, and how we will treat our customer during the interactions?
No, that's excellent. You have to establish that, because then how can you hold someone accountable if you haven't established your core values or your mission statement? How can you hold anyone accountable for missing a mark if you haven't clearly defined what the mark is?
Right. You have to put those things in place first.
Yes.
It's easier when you put them in place first, because then you always have that to look back to, and you ask yourself, okay, this what we're considering right now, how does that line up with our core values?
Now, you also talk about in your book about business owners being passionate, that we have to be passionate about what it is that we're doing. And that goes back to core values, that your core values should stem from whatever it is that you're passionate about and what got you to go into business in the first place. And so then we as the business owners have to be passionate, but then we need to be able to express that to, one, our customers, and then two, to our employees. So my question to you is, let's say you're one of those businesses that may have started your business and didn't get the culture that you wanted. Can you teach passion? Can you teach enthusiasm to employees who are not?
Ooh, that's kind of tough to me, Lisa. I think it's possible to exhibit passion and exhibit enthusiasm as a passionate, enthusiastic person yourself, but to teach somebody else, I think passion and enthusiasm begin in the heart. And if one is enthusiastic and passionate about what they provide to a customer, that comes from the heart. You can teach skills. I don't know that you can teach passion. Either you have it or you don't. Now, you may not have it because maybe you didn't receive the proper training that you need to be confident in front of a customer. So maybe when an employee has confidence about what they're doing, then you begin to see the passion and enthusiasm because they're confident that, hey, I can provide this service. Hey, I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking to the customer. They just feel better about themselves and their ability to provide a good customer service experience. So maybe enthusiasm and passion may be buried by not being confident.
Or lack of training. That's a very good point, Errol. So if we want those working for us or representing us, sales reps, whoever, and we want them to display or have that same passion for the product or the service as we do as business owners, it does come down to communication, being able to communicate that through our core values, our mission statement, and then training, which is so vital. And I think a lot of businesses miss the training part or they skimp on the training, but that's very important.
Right. I advise people to take the time to train your customer-facing employees properly. It's important not to just have a body out there in front of a person because you do an injustice to that employee, you do an injustice to that customer. And you can lose an employee eventually, and you can lose a customer because of the lack of taking the time to properly train employees. I just think that's so important to put confident employees in front of customers. Don't rush it. I'm a firm believer in not rushing that because if your employee turnover is high because they don't feel good about the training they're getting, that impacts your customer. And it costs your company a lot of money to keep bringing people in and putting them through training, and they keep leaving you. You're just really wasting a lot of time and a lot of money when you do it that way.
Arquella was on the show and she said something very profound, very similar to what you're saying. She says you want to, now I want to make sure I get this right, you hire slow, but you fire fast. So that you want to make sure that you are hiring the right person and asking all the right questions, and then you do take the time to train them. Now, again, in your book, you have your the keys to good customer service, and one of the things that you mentioned is the hiring tips that you give business owners. And there were a couple that I just absolutely loved. It was like, it was higher attitude and higher energy. Those really stood out for me. And then you want to hire thinkers as well as higher curiosity. Absolutely loved those. So why are then the traits that you mentioned in your book, why are those more valuable than hiring someone who has customer service experience? Why should I hire energy and why should I hire curiosity over someone who may have experience?
I say that because, Lisa, I think it's if a person is curious, then you can pretty much teach them anything. They have a lot of questions. That's telling me you want to learn. I used to tell my own kids when they were small, "Hey, have a good attitude. Be teachable." If you hire a person that has a questionable attitude, it's going to impact you somewhere. It's going to impact you. That attitude is going to transfer over to the customer. When they start interacting with customers, whatever attitude they come in with, it's going to transfer over their interaction with customers. So hire people with a good attitude, people that are teachable, people that want to learn. And being in customer service, it requires a lot of energy to deal over and over and over again with multiple customers, throughout the day. It requires a lot of energy because you never know what you're going to get. If you're answering the phone, you never know what situation your customer is dealing with and why they're calling. So your energy level needs to be high so you can deal with all these different situations so that you just don't get overwhelmed. It's important to have that high level of energy. But I'm a firm believer in great attitude. Start with the attitude. Give me somebody that's teachable versus somebody that already has a lot of experience and they're not teachable. Give me the person that has a good attitude. I'll take that person first every day.
Very true. I tease some of my friends, and I tell them, and it's like, and not everyone is built to work with the general public. There are some people who have absolutely no business on the phone talking to people. They have absolutely no business, taking a sale at the front of the store. Some people just are not built for working with the general public or in customer service positions.
Right. You have to like people. You have to like people because, like I said, you never know what might be presented to you from that person. So you have to like people to be in customer service. If you don't like people, that's really not the industry for you.
It really is. And then we as business owners have to be able to identify those people when we're interviewing. And you can't be so quick to hire just because you need a position to fill, because that really can come back to get you later.
Right. Aquila was right. Hire slow.
Hire slow, fire fast. There was something in your book. There was some stats that you mentioned. You said that 68% of customer defections take place because customers feel that they've been poorly treated. And of those who leave, 96% do so without even bothering to tell you. So here's the thing, that 96% who didn't tell you that they are leaving because they were treated poorly, thanks to the internet now or to social media, they may not tell you, but they may sure put your company on blast on social media.
Yes.
So then how important is it then, that we really take care of our customers, especially in this social media age, information age, where anybody can say anything now?
It's critical for the survival of your business that you interact with your customers to make sure that you're providing a great customer experience. If there's ever an issue, it's important to resolve it right away so that they can report that, hey, I did have an issue, but they resolved it for me to my satisfaction, very quickly. Most people won't complain. You think about it, Lisa, if you're at a restaurant and it's not to your liking, the service, the food wasn't prepared like you expected it to be, a lot of people won't complain. They just never come back. And then in their not coming back, they may tell somebody else. Most certainly they will tell somebody else, hey, I didn't have a good experience at that restaurant. Or they may go on Yelp and talk about you on Yelp. Or they may even go on Twitter and tweet about that bad experience. It's amazing to me how many, especially some of the larger companies, that do not yet monitor Yelp for what people, Twitter, for what people have to say about their company.
It's amazing that you say that, because Crystal Washington also said something very similar. She was on the show not too long ago, and her point was this, is that some companies are scared of social media and they refuse to have a presence there, thinking that somehow that kind of curbs or controls what people say. But it does not, because people are going to talk regardless if you're there or not. So it is better to be on those platforms so that you can at least defend yourself or put out your own response or kind of diffuse or put out the flames as it is.
Right.
And so customers, they use social media. I think there's even been studies, it's like people, you go to social media when you want to know where to go and where to eat, where to have lunch, and you get referrals. So
right.
you want to be online and you want to offer very good customer service, preferably timely in the moment, to handle those issues as they arise. And they will arise on social media. You will have to put out fires on social media.
Right. And to counteract that, Lisa, I suggest people ask their customers, hey, can you tweet something good about us? Did you have a great experience? If so, can you tweet that?
Oh, that's good.
Sometimes things happen. Because we're human, things happen, and it may not be intentional, but it happens. So to counteract those times when they do happen, how about all the times that you do provide great service and the customer is very happy and satisfied with you? How about encouraging them to go on Twitter and say something great about the experience they had with your company? How about getting them to if you're on Yelp, to encourage them to go on there and talk about that experience, and encourage them to go on Facebook and say something, good about your company. That way you can maybe counteract some of that, the times that maybe something did go wrong.
Now, you also you give a formula or an equation in your book, and it talks about the how customer service turns into word of mouth, and that word of mouth can either be positive for your company or it can be negative to your company, both impacting your bottom line. And so for business owners who think that customer service isn't that big of a big deal, your marketing is good, you've got a slamming website, your salespeople are absolutely phenomenal, and your product is absolutely perfect, and they don't give a hoot, let's say, about the customer service. Talk a little bit about how that it does impact your bottom line.
Yes, ma'am, it does. If you, as a business owner, if you know what your average sale is, and if you know what your typical customer spends with you on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, and if you can just start your multiplication process. If your average customer spends $60 to $100 a month with you, and let's say you have 1,000 customers. Well, let's say if you lose 50 of those, you start multiplying 50 times whatever that average sales is per month, and then you start multiplying. Okay, that's 12 months that I would lose that revenue. Then you started to see, okay, that can become a big figure, and can I afford to lose that? Because if I lose that, how much is it going to cost me to replace that? And I think the figure is it costs maybe 10 times as much to get a new customer as it does to retain a current customer.
That's true.
So then you have to ask yourself, can I afford to lose that much money and then have to turn around and spend 10 times more to replace the ones that I'm losing? Can I really afford that?
That I think that's one of the first things that should be taught to every business owner, is that it is less expensive to keep a current customer and keep them happy,
right,
than going through that process of pulling in a new customer. So
right.
It's very much so worth it. The training, hiring the right people, and have them administer customer service that fits your core service, your core values, and you're making your customers and your vendors, because they're that's customer service to your vendors as well.
Right.
They count too.
That's right. That's right. You have internal customer service. How well do we provide service to each other within the organization and to the outside vendors? You most certainly have to look at that, because that impacts your external customer, your paying customer.
Very true.
If you don't have great communication internally across departments, it's going to impact your paying customer. I remember, Lisa, I don't know if you remember the Houston Post or not.
I do remember.
I worked at the Houston Post. I was an operations analyst for the call center. And one day, I heard several of the call center personnel ask the customer on the phone, hey, can you read that to me, what you're looking at? The customers were calling in because of something they received in the mail about becoming a subscriber to the Houston Post. And the people in the call center had no idea what they were talking about. And I went out on the floor to see what was going on, because I kept hearing it. And when one lady finished her call, I said, you didn't know about that? And she said, no. And I was like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I went to the marketing department and I said, who's in charge of what goes out in the mail to potential subscribers? And this young man raised his hand, and I brought him over to me and I said, okay, who do you contact before that goes out? And he started naming different people, but he never named the call center. Wow. And I said, what about the call center? And he just had this blank look on his face. I said, okay, now, that's where your potential subscriber is calling. They're calling a call center. And if these people don't have that information, you're kind of throwing your marketing money down the drain.
Exactly.
So if there's no internal communication going on, then your paying customer is impacted. And if I'm calling about something I received in the mail and the people I'm talking to, I seem to know more about it than them, then I'm a little shaky about dealing with your company.
That's very true, Errol. That's very true. And so that goes back to, I know you had talked about in your book about communication, open communication. And every company will tell you that they have open communication. There's open door policy. You know, we want you to talk to us about anything if you see anything. But then when you really get down to it or have to enact that, it's not such an open door policy or open communication policy. So that how do you begin to remedy that, especially from a customer service standpoint, because you have to be able to communicate what's going on, what you're hearing from customers, and will that be received, by upper management or by business owners?
Right. That's a leadership issue. And if you say you have an open door policy, well, employees need to true. And that comes from leadership. Employees have the answers to all the questions, to everything that's wrong in the company. They have the answer. They're just waiting for somebody to ask them. They're just waiting to be asked. What can we do better? They have the answers because they deal with the customers every day. And you got to know they've already come up with their own solutions to keep the customer happy. They've come up with their own. If there's not one that's already in place, they come up with their own to make sure that they make the customer happy. So there has to be somebody in leadership has to let the people know, hey, we want feedback from you. We want you to let us know what's going on with our customers so that we can make our customers happy and so that you can be happy in servicing the customer. That's a leadership issue. You have to ask for that information so that it's one thing to put up a sign that says we have an open door policy, but it's another to really mean that. And employees can tell the difference.
They really can. Now, I know you have to be familiar with the TV show Undercover Boss.
That's my favorite show.
I kind of figured it would be. Just because of the information that the CEOs gain or the and the leadership team gains. And so one of the episodes was one of the leaders goes in, team leaders, high ranking leaders goes in, and they find out that a new policy change isn't being adopted on where it matters the most. And so
right.
These things happen, and just because you set policy in place doesn't mean that it's always acted out. Right. And so, especially when you're talking about communication, it really does have to come from leadership. And then I think you even talked about having boots on the ground in your book, FaceTime in those key departments, and talk about that a little bit, how important it is. You can't just sit in your office and assume that it's just running as it's supposed to.
Let's go back to what you just said, Lisa. Creating a policy and it's not being adhered to. Well, my question would always be, did you talk to the people that's impacted by that policy change to get their opinion before you made that change, to see if that change would even make sense?
Because you just said that the employees have the answer. They're on the floor. They have the answer. Right.
To talk about the boots on the ground, I'm a firm believer in that. In my corporate time, when I was in a managerial, supervisory position, I made it a point to whatever the people that I was responsible for, I would spend time with them while they were doing what they were doing. I wanted to see what you were doing. What did it take for you to do that? What did I need to do to make it easy for you to do what you were doing? That was fun for me. I just considered, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do. If my guys are out in the field and they're responsible for taking care of the customer in the field, I need to get in the truck with them and go see what's going on. If my people are on the phone taking calls, then I need to be on the phone with them sometime, listening at what they're having to deal with and coming up with ways, how can I make it easier for them? If it meant I needed to provide some more training to them, okay, that's my responsibility, because if I see they're struggling in a maybe a particular situation or with certain issues, it's my responsibility to make sure they have the tools they need to properly perform their job duties. But even more important than all that, Lisa, it gave me a chance to learn about them as a person, because that's a person. Yeah, when they walk in the door, you expect them to be ready to do their job. That's true. But it's important to know them as a person, so that when you see them off a little bit, they're just not on their game a particular day, then you have some reference to go to. And not that it's an excuse, but you can pull them to the side and just ask one question. Hey, how are things going? What's going on? You don't sound yourself today. What's going on?
And that's just good leadership.
Yeah. I back to the Houston Post, where my office was situated, I could hear this one person every day on the phone with customers. And she was one of the best. And one day, Lisa, I heard her, and she just didn't sound like herself. And I said, what's wrong? You don't sound like yourself. She said, you heard me? I'm like, yeah. I said, I've heard you on several calls. You just don't sound like yourself. She said to me, my husband and I had an argument this morning, and we didn't resolve it. I said, listen, I need you to get off the phones and go downstairs to the phone bank and call your husband. Do not come back up here until y'all get that resolved. And she said, you want me to do what? I said, yeah, I want you to get off the phone. She said, what about my supervisor? I said, I'll talk to your supervisor. Take care for you, but I want you to get that resolved. Don't come back up here until it's done, because you don't sound like yourself. And she went downstairs. She was gone about 15 minutes. She came back. She said, we got it resolved. I said, okay. And from that point on, Lisa, she was good to go. So you have to spend time with your people just to get to know them as people, and just to get them to open up about what's going on with them and how their job impacts the rest of their life. And you learn so much just by spending time with your people.
And by giving her that, it only took her 15 minutes to get it straight. In that same 15 minutes, she could have lost the company a client.
Yes.
In that same 15 minutes.
Yes.
So you can't look at it like she's off the clock for 15 minutes and it's costing me money. No, give her that 15 minutes. Let her get it straight. Whatever it is she has to get straight.
Right.
And everybody wins. And that kind of interaction, when leadership acts that way towards people that are working on the, have their boots on the ground and they're working and they're doing customer service, you can develop brand loyalty even from your employees by showing that you are genuinely concerned. And I do want you to do well. I want you to flourish. I want you to do well. And if this isn't working right now, please take care of this so that you could come back and still offer that wonderful customer service that you've been offering all this time. So that has like a twofold blessing, if you will. I think that's excellent. That's excellent on leadership's hand, for them to do that. Now there was so if the employees have the answers and, we really want to have this culture of open communication so that you can get that free flow of ideas. There was something you said in your book, and you said encourage customers to complain. That stood out because most people will say if it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't rock the boat, that kind of thing. Just let things continue as they are. So why would we want to encourage and then set up a system for our customers to complain?
Well, if it is broken, you certainly want to know about it. So that's a good reason to get the customer to complain. Sometimes you may not be aware that something has gone awry within your organization. Somewhere something has gone awry, and you may not be aware of it. So when you encourage customers to complain and you have a complaint system, you can easily identify a pattern. In a complaint system, I suggest that people set up several different categories. The complaint type, what time of day is happening. If you have multiple departments, in what department is the complaint about? You want to know all of that stuff so you can identify patterns. If you don't get your customers to complain, they may just disappear on you. At the first opportunity for them to get maybe a lower rate, somebody wants to give them a little more than what you are providing, then they may jump ship on you. So I want to know if the customer is not happy. I want to know as soon as possible, and I want to track it so that negative patterns don't get a chance to get going. It's important to have good patterns, and the only way you're going to be able to establish patterns is to have some information.
That's very valid, Errol. You want to hear, and you want to hear it. You want to hear it from your customers versus from your competitors. You would want that information from your customers, people that you can keep
Right.
and make happy.
Right. I want to know when something is not to their liking, to my customers' liking. And I want you to tell me, and I want to encourage you to tell me. So every opportunity I get, I want to say something to you about that. How is our service? Tell me about it. Is there anything we can do better? How was your last experience? Is everything okay? If you're face-to-face with a customer, you have an advantage.
Right.
Was everything okay this time? Is there anything we can do better?
So tell me about so if we're asking our employees, if we're asking our customers to give us feedback, and even feedback we may not necessarily like, but feedback that we need so that we can improve, so that we can remain competitive, so that we can remain in business, basically. So then what about the buck passing and denial? It's like at what level, who should accept responsibility for something that might have gone wrong? And I kind of think it may boil down to training in customer service, because there are stories of really bad customer service experiences. People say, well, that's not my responsibility, and whose responsibility is it? Who should take care of the customer? Who's empowered?
It's everybody's responsibility, but it starts with leadership. Leaders should always be and make it known that we're responsible for whatever happens here.
Now, when you say we, you mean everybody, not just leadership. It is everybody on the floor, everybody's answering phones.
Everybody. If you encounter a customer, you're responsible for that customer, wherever you encounter them. Even if they're complaining about something that you don't have any control over, you don't tell them that. You work for that company. You take responsibility. Now you go and find the answer that they need. And if it's going to take you a certain length of time, you let them know. In order for me to resolve this for you, I need about 15 to 20 minutes. Is that all right with you? Let me go and get the answer to resolve this for you. You just take immediate responsibility. It may be something that you actually cannot resolve, but you can certainly try to find somebody that can.
Errol, I like that. You said even if it's not your responsibility, if it's outside of your scope, you don't tell the customer that.
Yes, you never say that.
Can that be in all the training manuals everywhere? We just need to put that statement in every customer service training manual throughout the country.
You work for that company, and the customer is just looking for somebody within that company to help them. You don't say, that's not in my area.
Wow, that's not my job.
Mrs. Alexander, I need about 15 to 20 minutes to get the answer you need to resolve this situation for you. Is that going to be all right with you? What would you say to me, Lisa?
I wouldn't tell you no.
Yes.
You're trying to help me at this point. I'd probably sigh. Okay, 15, 20 minutes isn't going to kill me if it's going to get resolved. But to tell me no, that's not my job, then we take that up a level. Then you get red flags and you get infuriated, and I need to talk to your manager.
You just take responsibility for it, even though it may be out of your scope. You just go ahead and take responsibility and get an answer. And even in getting your answer, you can get the person who can provide the information that the customer is looking for. You go ahead and when that person is talking to the customer, you kind of be somewhere close by, because there's something to learn there too.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to encounter that again. And at least if you encounter that same thing, now you have the answer because you've dealt with that before.
Oh, Errol, that's very good. So business owners, you want to make sure that everybody knows everybody is responsible for the customer, regardless if it's your department or not, regardless if it's in your area of expertise or not. We are all responsible for the customer, and I think that is such a powerful statement, such a powerful thing that every business owner, every business should really live by. It was like, we take care of our customers because they take care of us. I think you might have heard Delta just changed their frequent flyer program. And I actually blogged about it. And it's a move so that they can take care of their best customers. They take care of all their customers, but for those customers who are spending a significant amount of money, they wanted to change up their frequent flyer program and truly make their elite program elite, understandable. So how can small businesses, how do we take care of our best customers? From a customer service aspect, I know that Zappos, they take really good care of their best customers. I mean, just generally, they take very good care of their regular customers. I can't begin to imagine what they do for their best customers or their best vendors. So is that something you would recommend? Do we treat everybody the same? Because some people might have a problem with that.
Well, I think it's okay as long as you're providing great service to everybody, and that's okay. If you want to provide something different for your customers that are repeat customers, they just continuously come back to you, and you can see how much revenue that you're garnering from a particular segment of your customer base, then it's okay, because now they're just going to talk even better about you.
Right. I agree.
Which is going to make more customers spend more money with your company. So you're going to win, and then they're going to win when you start giving them that extreme service. I think it's okay as long as everybody, no matter what category they fall in, is receiving a great experience. Then it just makes more sense for them to spend more money so that they can get to that next level.
I agree. Errol, thank you so much. This has been so insightful. So we know that as small business owners, we have to offer great customer service. Just because it impacts our bottom line, because it impacts word of mouth positively, negatively. We have to hire the right people and train those people. And here's where you come in. I know that you can help companies or help small businesses train their staff. So tell us a little bit about what you do. Tell us about your firm, how we can contact you.
We provide customer service training, whether it's for your customer service representatives on the phone, or if you have customer service personnel that interact with customers in the field, we can take care of that as well. For your managers or your supervisors, we can provide training for them on being the best manager, the best supervisor they can, in order to incite the people they're responsible for to provide the best service possible. We also can help provide a customer service strategy for your business, how you do what you do, why you do it that way. Look at your processes and your procedures to make sure that they're smooth for both your employees and your customers. And I can be reached, Lisa, and my cell is 281-467-9189, or you can visit my website at errolallenconsulting.com.
I also want to encourage all of our listeners to definitely pick up a copy of Errol's book. Very good book. It's called The Keys to Delivering Amazing Customer Service. Buy it online from his website. Get the book. It's a good read, and will definitely help you especially if you're just getting started and want to set up great customer service strategy. You can definitely hire Errol and his company. Even if you're at the point where maybe it didn't start off the way you wanted it to, and you need to kind of take a step back, he can come in and help you put in an excellent customer strategy in place, and then deliver superb customer service, and then start impacting your bottom line for the better. Errol, again, thank you so much. I appreciate your taking the time to talk to us today. That's our show for this week. Special thanks to Errol Allen for giving us such great information. If you want to contact Errol, please go to our show notes page at www.amzn.to. info@themarketingstylist.com, and we'd love your feedback. Leave us comments. If you're listening in iTunes, be sure to rate the show. We want your feedback. Let us know you're listening and you're enjoying the topics. Again, you can go to our show notes page, find things to tweet. We have a tweetable section, www.themarketingstylist.com. Thanks so much, everybody. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Shop Talk podcast at www.themarketingstylist.com.